Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Introverse Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the importance and the benefits of being intentional on a journey to a better you. I'm AJ Smith, and I am joined by Vince Jr. himself. How you doing today?
Vince Jr.
Vince Jr. It's important to put that Jr. on the end.
You got to put the Junior on the end. It's the mantra. It's been my Instagram name for maybe like 4 years now. Something quick, it's simple, it makes sense.
Yeah.
My family grew up calling me VJ Vince Jr. It sounds good when you say it with inflection. So yeah, Vince Jr.
Excuse
it is.
me. Vince Jr. I got it now.
There you go. Yeah, come on, Vince Jr. You bring your shoulders up a little bit and then make it all work.
I love it. So before we get started, I want to tell you guys where you can find the podcast. You can find us every Wednesday morning now on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Introverse Podcast, and on Twitter at Introverse Pod. If you don't have access to the previously mentioned podcast platforms, you can find a link in the bio that'll take you directly to the latest episode. You can find me at AJ Empowers on all social media. And I'm going to give Vince the floor. Excuse me. I'm going to give Vince Jr. the floor.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Grand Rising, I am Vince Jr. Super excited and blessed to be on the Introverse Podcast. I've known this young lady for, of course, over 10 years now, probably over 15 years now, ain't no telling.
It's got to be over 15.
Right. And so we've watched each other grow. I'm a little bit younger, so I feel like she's really watched me, kind of been there as like a mentor. In high school, I called her Big Cuz. And so, like I said, I'm just excited to be here. But let's get to those Twitter and Instagram social media handles. You can follow me on Instagram at Vince_Junior, VINCE_ the word Junior, JUNIOR. You can follow me on Facebook at Vince Montgomery Jr. I got to get back on Twitter. I had a Twitter in college, and I'm gonna tell you, I got locked out. I couldn't remember my password, and I just never went back because Twitter moves so fast. It's hard to get back into, But I will be.
I ain't been on Twitter either. It is one of the things.
Listen, it's so hard, and it's still a major thing. I thought Twitter was one of the ones that was gonna fall off with the rise of Instagram and everything, but it's still here. So as I continue to move forward with my content creation, I will have a Twitter. But I don't got one right now. So go ahead and go to Instagram. Follow me at Vince_Junior. Yes.
Already. So I appreciate that. What's the vibe? Tell me how you feeling, what you been up to, how you feel.
Ooh.
What you doing? What's the vibe?
What's the vibe? So in full transparency, the vibe is good. But the vibe is good because I'm getting more conditioned to being in this uncomfortable position and still making it work. So I just to make it short, I had a list of things I was going to do today. The podcast sat on a certain part of the list.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to this part of the list, there were other things that didn't get done. And I'm a kind of person where I'm somewhat of a routine guy. If one or two things don't happen in the routine, it makes it very difficult for me to, or in the past, it's been very difficult to quickly adjust and just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in this last season, I kind of been shaking out all of those hard habits and getting used to being uncomfortable and changing quick. So I'm good because I felt like I was going to be nervous because I didn't get this done and I don't think I'm going to be in the right mindset. I didn't get my 10-minute meditation in, so I don't know if I'm going to be fully present in the moment. Just all kinds of things that your brain will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got on here, and I see you on here, and my sound wasn't working at first. Everything just melted away because when you move in the way you're supposed to move and you in the right positions, it'll take all of it away.
Absolutely.
So I'm good. 10 minutes ago, I was like, eat this food really quick and got okay. But once we got on, I'm good. So I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I'm talkative, so that means I'm ready. I'm ready.
The talkative, the better. You got to make sure. Like I said, this it's all on you. We're interviewing Vince Jr. today.
Okay,
So I'm gonna tell you my vibe. My vibe. I am in a space of transformation. Just understanding I'm really on the thing of move, just move. It ain't got to be perfect because I'm a perfectionist and an overthinker.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm just in the move and do type
yeah,
transformation. So we took a break from the podcast, and then I brought it back, and I'm just happy to have it. I just couldn't let it go. I felt like it was
yeah,
more that needed to be said, more that needed to be done. So here
yeah.
we are.
I
Um,
hear you.
so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the first question. So the new platform, or the new not platform, I guess you would say, the new structure of the podcast. I bring in some dope people and we talk about some good stuff.
There you go.
Insert another word in there, and you know what I'm talking about.
There it is.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what got you to this part of your journey, or this portion of it?
Man, what got me to this portion of my journey? You know, I thought about it and I tried to find one singular thing that got me to this point, but I nothing singular. You know what I mean? Got me to this point in my journey. So I'll say life. Um, I feel like one of my favorite kind of Bible verses, well, not kind of Bible verses, one of my favorite Bible verses: to everything there's a season, nothing is new under the sun. And I kind of have this mantra that I don't believe in coincidences or anything. So I think that literally everything, good and bad, led me to this point in life. Um, I think the human experience, honestly, is just a series of different random points in your life that you become aware of the other points in your life. Like, you remember when you was a kid, or you remember when you were this age or that age, and you kind of just reevaluate where you are and what you're doing and how you're doing it, and if that's something that you need to do, which is where I believe I've been in this kind of point in my life, in this season in my life. If you want to be more specific to right now, we're coming out of this pandemic. I think for me specifically, I've just recently relocated to Florida. Well, actually, it's been almost a year now, but I've relocated to Florida. Yeah, but it's crazy how time passes, right? But I relocated to Florida. I took I guess what you can consider a dip in my career. I'm an actor and performer, broadcast journalist, major theater performance minor. It was my degree in college. So I literally love the stage. I love to interact. I love to communicate. An actor by trade. Uh, at the time, a year ago, I was with a performing company based out of DC. Of course, getting on stage consistently, always being in a space of, going on tours and just sharing my gift with people, performing, singing, dancing. And that's when you're a performer, when you're an artist, a creative, that's something that you like, and it's something that's amazing, it's euphoric. But it wasn't the end point for me. You got your own purpose. And I feel like before I even joined that group, I had somewhere I had to go. And so I think more specifically with COVID happening and with just a bunch of things that happened in my life, it kind of shook me up, and it got me to, pay attention and, like we just said, realize we're at a point in my life and look up and evaluate and see that, okay, I need to fix some things. I need to do some things better. And once I had that awareness, it's been a difficult, frustrating, very doubt filled, a lot of back and forth, maybe even a little double mindedness as I'm trying to get the right mindset. It's been that kind of journey, but it's been an amazing one. Every day hasn't been bad. I can't say that every day has been horrible to get through. I can't say every day has been great to get through, but I could say if I look back over the last 6 months, 7 months, where I am mentally, where I am spiritually, as far as who I am and what I'm supposed to bring to the world, it's so much more clear than it's been in the last 5, 6, 7 years of feeling like I was in the field and dancing, performing on stage, and hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and yet now I have more clarity of what I'm supposed to be doing now that I've stepped away from. So probably stepping away from my life plan and trying to accept God's plan is what led me to this point in my journey.
So you said some days have been good, some days have been bad. How do you kind of navigate and kind of remain centered in that fluctuation of your days?
So what I'll say is that's part of the struggle. Part of that own struggle was the inconsistency of how I feel. And I mean, it's a very long story, but I'll give you a short backdrop. In 2014, I was diagnosed with seasonal mild depression, and I was diagnosed with a mental illness called severe panic disorder. People are familiar with panic attacks, anxiety attacks, the clammy fingers, the stuttering, the heart beating fast. Severe panic disorder is an elevated uh, version of the syndrome. The episodes last a lot longer and it's a lot more detrimental to your body. Your body literally shoots large amounts of adrenaline into your system because it believes that its life is in danger. And if there's nothing actually going on and that consistently happens, it creates problems. So I dealt with that in 2014. And I think that the biggest part of depression is that inconsistency, is that hopelessness, and then maybe one day you have a good day and 2 days you have two good days, or maybe you have a good week of solid improvement, and then something happens in the next 2 3 days, you feel like you're right back to where you started at. And that's a hard place to be in. So I feel like on my bad days, quote unquote, they were days that I thought I was on the path and I thought I had got past this and I thought I got past that, and something happened, right back in the same position, or right back entertaining those same thoughts, right back in that same trauma cycle. And that in itself is frustrating because you like, I thought I was moving forward. Dang, now I messed up. It's like, bro, the last month or the last 2 weeks that you've been doing good, you done ruined it. So, bad days and then good days. You have days where you can look at all of that and say, in spite of, I may not be able to see on a day by day basis how I'm improving, how I'm getting better, but every day that I set an intention to grow past negative mindsets, to grow past being stuck, to grow past shame, regret, to grow past any of those negative vices, then I'm good. I'm moving forward. And whether I see it or feel it, whether I feel it emotionally or not, does not matter, because the reality is I'm changing, I'm growing. That transformation that you said is happening whether I realize it or not, whether I want it to or not. So on my good days, regardless of what my circumstance is, on my good days, I've decided that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. In this whole little life story, in this little movie I'm watching, I'm right where the character is supposed to be before it turns around. So that's what a good day look like. And the bad day is, of course, feeling like, just inconsistent and just all over the place.
It's so funny how we can have good days and then one small thing can be thrown into the mix and is just everything else is trash.
Knock everything off, and you be like, man, what's going on, man? And you can realize, man, I'll tell you, actually, I've been doing a lot of, since I've been on this journey, I've been doing a lot of personal work. I've been a lot around myself a lot more, and that involves me talking to myself. I found that when I start to say some of my thoughts out loud, they help me hear how crazy they sound, or they help me hear how like foolish they sound, right? So I do a lot of talking to myself, like, bruh, it was one thing, man. I could have had a good 3.5 weeks. And I have one conversation where I feel like I didn't like the way the person ended the conversation. I don't know where they came from. And if I entertain that thought for 30 seconds, 10 minutes later, I'm just like, what's the point in all of this, man? What's the point? What's the point? Yeah, go sit down, man. Just go lay down and watch some TV, man.
Replaying your head for the next 5 days off
Man,
30 seconds.
30 seconds, 30
Hmm.
seconds. Mind you, that whole day was great. But your brain for the next 5 days gonna replay that 30 seconds of negative
Yep.
and tell yourself that that's all your existence is. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's very crazy.
Yeah.
So with the good and bad days and you've moved back to Florida and your career wasn't going like you thought it should and all of these
Right.
things, what is the one turning point or what is one turning point that you've seen in your life that made it the hugest or the biggest impact on you?
Oh, yeah, I know what I'm saying with that one. I know the audience doesn't, but last year, literally coming up on a year last year, on September 6th, I buried my father.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't bury him on the father, but on the 6th, but he transitioned on the 6th. My dad was a great man. I told you guys my name is Vince Jr. I was literally named after him, a namesake. And I had a very good relationship with my father. Anybody that knows my daddy, man, he was a father. He was one of those men that he was a man. You know what I'm saying?
He
He
was a
got it
very
from the old
dynamic
school.
man.
Very dynamic, very dynamic. I was gonna say belt swinging, but you know what? Dynamic is way that's way more clean cut, and he like you a lot more than me for you saying dynamic. But he was a very dynamic guy, and we had an amazing relationship, and that's good. But when you first lose somebody and you have a good relationship like that, it's heartbreaking. It's
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking. Particularly for me, I had already been going through a lot, as many people were. In our eighth month of COVID, 8 months of shutdown. I was, like I said, I was living in DC. My father was diagnosed with cancer first in 2016. When he was diagnosed with cancer back then, I went vegan, became plant-based, and I've actually been plant-based ever since. So my father's cancer returning in the summer of 2020, it shook me up because I had literally developed this lifestyle, this self-discipline that was based on the premise of I like being plant-based, because when my father went plant-based with me, he was able to shrink down the tumors drastically so that he could get off of chemo early.
Oh wow.
And now I'm back 3 years later, 4 years later, and this time I remember leading up to him passing. Just that whole time period, it felt different. There wasn't necessarily he wasn't like on a slippery slope or anything like that. It just felt different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say one of the major turning points I didn't realize it was before he passed. And I've actually never said this to anybody before, but about a month before he passed, I was sitting up in DC and I got an email from him at like 2:30 in the morning. And it was literally a letter, father to son. And man, I remember getting the email and 2:30 in the morning, running outside. I don't know why, but running outside to my car, sitting in my car reading the email and just crying my eyes. And man, Ashley, audience, let me tell y'all, I cried my eyes. It was one of them. I don't even think a movie has really depicted the kind of cry that I let out. Man, it was such a hurtful thing, and because it was scary that my father is sending me this message, and I'm expecting you to be okay to tell me this. So at that moment, my brain started this whole like I remember feeling like I don't even know why I'm here. We up here, I'm at work, we're performing, we're doing this content, and I don't know what I'm doing here. My boss at one point was just like, I had told her about the cancer, and she was just like, I think you need to go home because you're just not present. You're not present. And I was like, oh, you're right. So she said, we're gonna finish this project. As soon as we finish this project, we're gonna let you get home. Finish the project on the third. The third was a Thursday or Friday. Father passed Sunday. So was finishing the project, was holding on to get home, and he passed maybe 2 days before I was supposed to come home. That was the major turning point because that was a major love in my life that was cut off. And it came at the perfect time. I didn't like it when it happened. Nobody wants to lose a parent. And if anybody has ever lost a parent, or if anybody's ever lost anyone immediate, or just really lost, because loss, we're not gonna put levels on loss. Loss hurts. If anybody has ever dealt with that, they know how of a life changing moment that is. Literally, whatever you're doing, whatever you have going on with your situation, when a parent dies, everything goes out the window. I became a 6-year-old child. I became a 6-year-old child within 5 seconds of getting the news. 5 seconds of getting the news. And it brought in a lot of, I think it brought in a lot of, what's the word? I don't want to say fear, but it brought in a lot of doubt as far as what I consider with life. My father was a praying man, preaching man, you know what I'm saying? Father has prayed over many people. He's sat in hospitals and prayed with people. And they've gotten better sometimes, they haven't sometimes, but just my father's a good dude. And it's crazy. Without realizing it, we kind of make our own decisions, subconscious decisions about what warrants death and what warrants things. And we kind of live in this kind of idea. Karma is very real. I believe in karma, but we live in this idea that everything that happens in life is a direct result of something like boom, boom. If you do good,
Good will come
nothing
to you.
bad is gonna happen to you. Right. If you do bad, nothing good is gonna happen. And that's just not how it works.
Mm-mm.
But my father dying made that snap for me. It made that snap, that whole mindset of if you do good and you do what you're supposed to be doing, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna make it through. You're gonna keep past these miracles. And the reality is that some things you just got to deal with, good or bad. Whether you're on the right path or the wrong path, life happens to all of us.
Absolutely.
And I think that what do you call that? The floor being the rug being slipped from underneath me. It was what I needed because that same kind of mentality of, if you do good, then nothing bad will happen to you. It was the kind of relationship I had with the Most High, with the Creator, and it was honestly the kind of relationship I had with myself, in which I felt like as long as I did something good or I did something that I felt like was positive, then it was like counteract the negative, or it would have like, okay, you doing this good over here. So when you're doing something that you know you ain't got no business doing, you can leverage it with tomorrow I'm gonna do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this transactional kind of lifestyle that wasn't gonna work for me where I'm trying to go. That wasn't gonna function correctly. And so my pops passing took that out. So with that, it knocked my faith. It knocked a little bit of my mental stability. But it really just hurt. I came home burying somebody in a burying somebody in the COVID times was difficult because my dad was a good man. He deserved a billion people at his funeral. So, having to have a drive-by thing where people really can't sit down and enjoy him. My daddy was a singing man, and he was like the minister of music at church for years. So if it's one thing that he knew how to do and one thing my family know how to do is sing down,
Mm-hmm.
don't even really get to celebrate in that way because, COVID. So a lot of things that they was just pushing and pulling, man, taking me out of reality, taking me out of being present. And like I said, that happens in life sometimes. But I think that I was being taken out of the present because the way I was looking at it was incorrect. It was incorrect. You trying to, and I don't want to push religion on anybody. But I personally believe that with me, my relationship with my relationship with the Most High was one of the paramount things that I had to get together. Uh, we kind of walk around and people say like, "Oh, I'm spiritual," or "I'm Christian," or "I'm this," or "I'm that,"
Mm-hmm.
and they're titles. But I wonder when everybody get those titles, what's the actual spiritual relationship that they're having? If you're spiritual, when you say you're spiritual, are you actually like meditating? Are you actually sitting in nature and being aware and being present? If you're in the church, do you actually have a relationship with Christ? If you're a Muslim, do you actually have a relationship with Allah? Like, what is the mental spiritual connection that you have? And I feel like beforehand, mine was again transactional. You do sin, you ask for forgiveness, boom. But you do good, God bless you.
Mm-hmm.
You do bad, He don't bless you.
But
And
growing
I
up,
think
that's
Kind of how you were raised to believe you
that's
do
exactly,
good and God gonna do good to you.
that's exactly how we was raised. And I mean, I applaud our strong, amazing African American, and I promise I applaud us because it was one of the things that held us on and it got us through. But to be quite honest, one part of the journey that I'm at is questioning everything, including the things that I was raised to believe and including the things I was raised to think in. My father gone, I think a good thing that I did is it forced me I can't go to my dad and get his opinion on a lot of things in the past, even with old radio shows. I've been on radio before. And so we discuss a lot of entertainment, media topics, celebrity gossip, that kind of things. Certain situations or conversations that we would have on air, or just like, the good convos to get people going, the men versus women kind of things. I would go to my father ultimately just to get his opinion because it was such a warranted opinion. My
mm-hmm.
daddy gone now. So who you gonna go to? Myself, because I'm a grown man, and I think that my father passing showed me that now you need to develop your ideology. Now you have to know what you know as confidently as he knew what he knew, and it can't be I know this because it was taught to me. It got to be I know this because I experienced it myself, and that's what I'm doing. So that's where I'm at now, man. It's literally in this mental spiritual space where I'm literally trying to just discover this relationship with the Most High. Uh, I consider it a personal relationship. And honestly, it's ironic, but I say that that's probably the best thing that I have going on right now. I know at one point I was nervous about doing this interview because it was like, dang, Vince, do you have any content, any products, any services you can give to the people? Because I'm an old school rattler. We're always about marketing and being on top of our stuff. But I realized, what accolade is better than I'm getting it right on the inside, and I'm perfecting that connection with the source. I'm perfecting that connection with something that's infinite, that's something that exists beyond time, something that existed before I was born and gonna be here long after I'm gone. I'm getting connected and recharged on that, so that no matter what happens in life, it don't bother me because I'm connected. Like I'm not ever gonna be drifting. I'm connected, and I think literally saying it out loud, that's what I got right now, man. I feel like my biggest accomplishment in this season has been establishing that connection, that relationship, talking to the Most High, and not imagining a dude on a throne with a crown, not imagining any color, not imagining any gender, not imagining any. We're just getting rid of any kind of imagination and just talking.
Absolutely.
Literally just talking and learning to hear the responses.
I kind of went through that phase of, and I still am in the phase of questioning everything that we
Yeah.
were taught. We were raised in a good old country type church. So
Good
those,
country, South,
those, those
South.
things that they taught us, while it may be good practice, it may not be biblical. And I've had to kind of go backwards and just kind of figure out what I know to be true. At this point, all I know to be true is that I believe in God and I love Jesus. But all the other stuff in that, I'm not too sure yet. And I'm still working it out. So at some points, I'm spiritual and I'm meditating and I'm out walking and connecting with Mother Earth or Mother
Yeah,
Nature. And then the next minute, I'm like praying to God and understanding what He has done for me. So it's just, I feel all of what you were just saying, and my question was gonna be, how did losing, I'm he's still in my eyes gonna be Elder. How did losing Elder
yeah,
Montgomery really affect your spirituality? However, you already answered that, so I
man, yeah. It jumped it forward. I kind of I want to point on that too. So blessed. Before my father passed, I was able to actually have this exact conversation with him. So my father is an elder. He's a pastor. He was raised missionary Baptist in the South. He raised us primitive Baptist in the South. So we got that typical down hole country 90s, early 2000s, Southern raising. My father died, or before my father died, I told him that I was struggling with religion. And I'll tell you the basic conversation we had. I was like, how you feel about grace? He said, what do you mean? I said, how you feel about grace? And I was just like, if I don't pray over my food, is that wrong? And he was just like, why would you not pray over your food? And I'm like, you missing my point. I was raised, the way I was raised, I literally stopped. And everybody listening, I don't even want to say black people, everybody listening, I feel like at least 50, 70,000% of the people listening can agree to this right here. You be eating your food and it's good. You was hungry. And halfway through chewing on your chicken, you remember, oh, I ain't pray. And you'll stop mouth open,
dropped the fork and everything.
drop everything you do. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you do all of that because you feel like subconsciously, if I don't pray, or if I didn't pray, the worms gonna get in my food. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna be for the nourishment of my body. But the Bible never said you had to pray over your food. The Bible literally never said anything about it. So I told my dad, I just think that there are things that religion has taught us that God ain't have nothing to do with. And I think that, well, I didn't say I think that. I was just saying I know that based on what y'all have told me and based on what I've been in, God exists beyond what I've been raised to see him in. And I don't know what I believe. And I'm gonna be honest, I had a real convo with him too. I said there's some parts in history that are conflicting. And it was hard to have this is a hard conversation to have with my father because he's my father and we got a good relationship. But he old school and he old school religion. And anybody that knows black people, there's one thing that has held us together for centuries in America. Unfortunately, it's been religion. And so the more deeply rooted you are, go ahead.
For you to question that, it's almost like a slap in their face because my grandma feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's that whole cognitive dissonance thing where Black people is very strong within religion because there are certain aspects of it that just they conflict. And I told my father about some of them. I think mine specifically was there's Egyptian Kemetic history that has a story very similar to I want to say the birth of Jesus, the death of us. There's a story that exists that is in Egyptian history that technically is supposed to be older than the biblical history, but it's the same storyline. And I was just like, that is difficult for me to understand because I was raised to believe and trust the Bible more than science, honestly. You know what I'm saying? I never went to biology and actually believed in us developing from because that's not how I was raised. And so now you're looking at from the very beginning of my education, a basis or a structure that I've used to depend on is now being shown, okay, but they got this story and it's something that's older and they use different names, different culture, rock my religion. So my daddy told me before he passed, he said, any man that has a belief system, if you ain't never had to question it, if you ain't never had to go round for round with it and figure out the truth, then you don't really believe in it. You don't really believe in it. And I mean, honestly, when you think about it, it makes sense because our belief system beyond the religion, our belief system is supposed to be solely based on what? Love, unconditional love. So it's supposed to be a relationship. To the simplest form, where I am in my brain, I feel like your spirituality is just your relationship with the source. The closer you get your relationship with the source, the more you're able to feel what the Most High is saying, what they're communicating to you, what they want you to do. You're able to see them move through nature. You're able to see them move through things, and then you're able to go out and do what you're supposed to do. Based on those things. I think religion has kind of been doing it a little bit different. I feel like we were kind of raised in a do this so that you can go to heaven. Because if you do wrong, you're gonna go to hell. That was the first concept we learned. And so everything that we did with God was based on a transaction. It was based on I want to do right because I don't want to get in trouble instead of being or like a relationship. I love you so much that I'm willing to compromise this to make you happy, to keep you happy. You
Versus a
know,
fear-based system where it's like, if I don't do this, then I'm gonna burn forever. And if you start to form that relationship, it's more so of, like you said, it's a love transaction where, and not even a transaction. I shouldn't say that. It's a love. Um, I guess a love gathering, you would kind of say, as you gather with Christ, and you all share your love for each other. So I honestly believe that while old school religion had its place, it is kind of outdated. But that's a
it's
whole
very
nother
outdated.
conversation.
Whole nother conversation. But yeah, it makes sense. You just said we were taught fear-based religion. I don't want to get into the history of it, but we were literally taught this religion from our plantation owners. Slaves, be obedient to your masters. It makes sense that Black people have continued this tradition of a fear-based doctrine because it was given to us in a fear-based doctrine. And that also why a lot of people walk away from it because it's fear-based doctrine. So I get it. Again, like you just said, respect to them. But I just believe in this day and age, we're getting a little bit more awareness of what it really is to live a lifestyle for God.
Absolutely. Um, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I kind of want to shift it a little bit. When did you realize you were on the right path, or do you believe that you're on the right path now?
Last week, 2 weeks ago, when I got on this podcast, it's little things. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm actually, as I've said before, I'm naturally a talkative person. Radio, podcasting, hosting, that's been my thing since since I was a kid. I mean, down to the Black History Month programs, we're doing the poetry contest. I've always been able to get up and do that. Um, and I think that in this season, I finally got a confirmation. Like, I'm just like, God, you know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to do? I got this talent, I got that talent. Which one? How am I supposed to build all of them? What I'm supposed to do? I think podcast just started developing for me. It started pushing in my head. I knew I was on the right path when I was listening to Breakfast Club one day and they asked somebody a question and I paused the video and I answered the question out loud. And when I looked up, it had been like 20 minutes that had passed of that video being on pause. And I had talked that whole 20 minutes. And I'm embarrassed, but I talked that in 20 minutes from both sides of the interview. So I answered the question on pause, and then I asked another question in the interview. Then I answered myself, and I laughed at myself when I realized, like, boy, you just did a whole interview, and it just clicked. Cause this is what you need to be doing right now, right? Maybe a week later, that, you know, whatever situation happened that pushed me to what's the name, I've been praying for God, like, God, I want to do this stuff, but I want to make sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I ain't just trying to do stuff on my own. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do this with you. Feel me? Maybe a week before me and you talked about putting this podcast together, every time I sit in my car, or every time I just be sitting in my, a wasp will be flying around my car. And I thought it was just like, okay, it's a wasp tree over here where I park my car at or whatever. One day I was getting COVID tested miles away from where I usually be. And I was literally sitting there doing a little nutrition lesson. I roll down the window, and the first thing that has a wasp fly right through the car, fly all in my face. And I'm like, it's a wasp. It's a closed space. So I'm just trying to get the wasp out the way. The young lady, of course, she cracking up laughing. So I, you know, talked with her a little bit, embarrassed. But then I was just like, dang, God, why you playing with me, sending nature to mess with me? And I was like, wait. So I went and looked up what wasp meant. Like what is the spiritual meaning of a wasp? Because I'm kind of extra like that. And it was just like, usually in other cultures, when people see wasp, that's a sign that you need to move forward on whatever you've been waiting on. It's a sign that the universe has opened up something called pronoia. And it's the exact opposite of paranoia. Paranoia is where you feel like the universe is conspiring against you. Pronoia is where you feel like the universe is conspiring on your behalf. So a wasp, black wasp, traditionally, I think it's like the Indian culture, another culture, they've been known to, if they were priests or they were officials praying on a matter, if they saw black wasps, they would know they need to move forward. I literally had been seeing a wasp every day. And then this one wasp, I'm in a completely different situation, and I see the same wasp. I'm like, this can't be the wasp that's bothering me at my house. This got to be a mess from God. That day, I said, I'm going to start this podcast. I went and looked up equipment. This is a difficult time for everybody right now, and I'm still going to make this investment. Made the investment. The very next day, I get a call from my insurance company. They got to reconfigure my insurance. So, of course, I got to pay more money. So it's like I just told God, right? I feel like I need you to speak to me. And then all of a sudden, these wasps come around. I realize these wasps been trying to speak to me this whole time. And I say, okay, I feel you, God. I feel you, universe. I feel you, nature. Like, you trying to tell me to move forward. So let's move forward. And I make the decision to move forward. 6 hours after I make the decision, financial burden. That, of course, makes that decision hard because you have to pay money to get podcasting equipment. And now a bill almost the same amount as the equipment comes out the same day. And so I just kind of, honestly, in this season of my life, that's happened a lot. Where I've asked for something or I've gotten a blessing in 30 seconds, 30. Actually, I don't even get to blink with that thing. I don't even get to take the blessing around the corner up to the gas station before something else happens that just almost seems like it cancels out the blessing. I was like, God, ain't no way in the world you let a wasp fly in my car and embarrass me in front of that lady for this financial thing to bother me. So I'm gonna say that again, I ain't letting you go. You gonna show me who you are, because you say you love. I'm gonna try to trust you. So I don't know where this money coming from, but I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna go about my business. And I said that out loud. I made that decision, and I put some gas in my car and I turned it on. And the second I turned it on, got a DM. Hey, Vince, what's your cash out? I know you started a podcast and I want to bless you. And again, I have been asking in this season, God, I'm trying to figure out who you are. But part of the way that's going to work for me is by you, when I'm asking you stuff, you just talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
To show you in those moments where you're unsure,
Yeah.
till you can fully believe without having to see.
Yeah, and even that I was struggling with, because I'm like, I don't want you to feel like I need a miracle every time, but I need something. My faith has been knocked, right? I'm in this place where we got to build back up from the beginning, and I have been asking for it, and now it came. And this is literally maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So about 8, 9, 10 months of me literally just trying to figure stuff out, relocating back to Florida, going through a bout of depression, trying to get hired again. I ain't realized it was hard to get a job because I had a job, been working with my company for 5 years. I didn't realize how hard it was to just get a quick little part-time job. And I didn't know how low part-time jobs paid because I ain't worked a part-time job in a few years. I got my first paycheck and I got hired. Like, dang. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, I'm a person that, again, like I said, I got friends, stuff like that, that we're in the regular popular culture. Popular culture right now, if you're not paying for $3,000 on a date or to go out like to the club, then you're doing it wrong type stuff. Man,
Are you serious?
Well, maybe not $3,000, but you get what I'm saying. We
I know what
really
you're
in that
saying,
age. Yeah, but we in that age where just showmanship matters to a lot of people, and you'll get caught up in it. I've never been somebody that completely subscribed to society's ideas, but you still get caught up in it. I got an Instagram, I got a social media, I got friends, and at my other job, I was good enough where I could have them little times where I go out and spend a little bit and not really care about this is a waste of your money. You know what I mean? I think that all of that together just had me in this place where I was just like, bro, you do not have this stuff together, bro. You got a lot of stuff you need to fix. You got a lot of stuff that you need to do better. And I think that what ended up changing for me wasn't so much the physical. It wasn't like I got into a position where I got a better job and all that good stuff, because I've worked jobs since then, but it was spiritual and mental. I got to a place where what matters, what's important. You know what I'm saying? Showmanship. Do you really need to go out, or do you need to figure out what you're doing with your life?
Yeah.
I was frustrated at my previous job. It was a performance job, but the schedule was so hectic, I didn't really have time to go out and audition like I thought I would. When I initially got the job, I'm like, it's a performance job in the free time, and whenever I'm not doing anything, I go to auditions. It'll work perfectly. The real world says it's not how it works. If audition is in New York on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have rehearsal at my regular job, or I'm on tour. And it came to a point actually where I did book a gig, and I picked that gig. And because I picked that gig, I feel like my job, there was like an international 3-week tour, and I wasn't allowed to go on it. And it was difficult because everybody couldn't go on the trip anyway, so they had to figure out who couldn't go. Once they found out that I was rehearsing for something else, they were like, well, yeah, since you already got something else going on, stay home. And that kind of showed me that my idea of getting into acting from here wasn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? So I had to come to Orlando, lost all of that good stuff. And when I got to Orlando, I had to come to peace with the terms of all of that. If you're an actor, if you're supposed to be an actor, you're going to step into your moment. Because if you're an actor, every time you read a script, you should be an actor. You know what I'm saying? You should feel a little contentment. But you're going to have to get peace with stepping into your moment whenever it comes. You're going to stop putting the time limit on it. You're going to stop beating yourself up about it because you're not there yet. You're gonna stop being in a position where you don't feel good enough when you see your homies that you might have acted with before or whatever, and they put you in roles. You gonna stop defining or feeling like you are good enough or aren't good enough in comparison to them. You're gonna come home and you're gonna lose all them distractions. You're gonna come home and I'm gonna allow the universe to just throw stuff at you so much that your mind can't focus on nothing else but sitting by yourself and having this conversation with me. You know what I'm saying? Having this conversation with yourself and getting on the right path. Because like, I want to be an actor, I want to do all this, but I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I believe in for real. You know what I'm saying? My father died and everything I thought I knew out the window. And I want to go into an industry that is the most bull shark industry you can get into. It's the most smoke and mirrors industry you can get into. It's the most spiritually dangerous, I believe, industry you can get into, because there's so much money and power and influence that's very tempting to humans, that's very alluring, intoxicating to humans. And before you know it, you get caught up in that high and chasing after that goal, chasing after that fame, and you be willing to do whatever it is they telling you is gonna get you there. And I don't know the mind of many actors or performers or artists, but you can see the patterns. You see it happen. You see the movies where they talk about the drug use. You see the movies where they're trying to cope and they're trying to deal. And I was trying to go that area with no real solid structure, with no real integrity, with no real knowledge of self, so that when I get there, I can tell them no. because you don't provide the opportunity. You
Yeah.
just the face man. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that I just finished reading Yvonne Orji's book, Bamboozled by Jesus, and she
Oh,
talks about how she had to be very cautious that the light shining on her didn't outshine the light that was shining in her. And it's very important for her to remain true to her spiritual calling while also being in this industry, like you said, that's full of smoke and mirrors and things like that. So it's
dang.
important that you got to focus on your focus. You got to stay, you got to put your blinders on and keep moving. So that's what's up.
Yeah, but that's a difficult thing, and for specifically for acting, I'm just keeping it there. That's difficult because you 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 know that your focus is here, but if I'm getting there through the acting vehicle, you start want certain things you want to do. So I give an example.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up on Fresh Prince type stuff. I always want to be in one of those kind of sitcoms. You know, if my focus is to create this platform and just love on everybody, and that's the way that I show God. I just showing that unconditional love. If that's my focus, but I start to get that platform through that TV show, and I love that
Mm-hmm.
TV show. If one day that TV show say I need you to do this, and if you don't, we're gonna take you off the show.
Yeah.
And I'm focused on staying in the show, I'll mess up. My goal is to keep moving on that platform. And I don't determine that platform. I don't determine what people like. Honestly, your talent doesn't determine it. Honestly, your networks and your connections don't determine it. There are certain people that go viral for whatever reason we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Simply because it's their moment. And so
Yes.
if you could believe in that, your moment is gonna come regardless, then there's nothing nobody can tell you that'll make you feel like you'll miss out on it because it's my moment. I can't miss it. As long as I'm intentional, I can't lose it. But that kind of mindset in this industry, in any kind of entertainment industry, in any kind of industry where you start to get presence, whether that's social media presence or like a major platform, followers, listeners, audience, viewers. Once
Mm-hmm.
you start to get that, it's very dangerous to keep that focus because everybody looking at you. Oh, you so and so. Everybody saying, "Oh, come do this. Oh, come do that. Oh, work with me on this. Collab on that."
Mm-hmm.
People that you looked up to are now saying, "Oh yeah, I got this script. Come check it out. Da 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 da. Do this and that." And if you're not grounded, if you don't know why you're there, out the window. Out the window.
What's the main thing that keeps you grounded outside of spirituality and religion and your connection with the Most High? That's it.
Right, honestly.
I
But
love it.
all of those are connected together. So I won't even say religion, because I'm leaving the religion alone because I won't say I can't do nothing with that, but right now I can't do nothing with that. I think what's keeping me grounded right now is a mixture of what you just said. I'm what's keeping me grounded is I'm at the ground, and I'm literally at the ground with everything. I do a lot of my spirituality is tied into nature. So I do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of my worship meditating. I do a lot of my worship like literally walking out in like forests, the little public parks and that have natural forests and vegetation. I like sitting around that a lot. I literally every day try to get out. It's a little lake, not too far from my house. It got a little tree. I try to get out there and honestly just sit underneath it and just listen to the water, listen to the wind, um, listen to the birds and the animals and the nature, because all that stuff out there is functioning correctly without no issue. A
Mm-hmm.
tree doesn't get depression. You know what I'm saying? A squirrel doesn't feel like he's not squirrel enough for the squirrel club. But humans, we do that all the time. And so when you sit in nature, you reminded sometimes you got to sit still because you were built to flow and function the same way everything else was. That kind of sitting out there in nature, I'll sit out there. That mantra kind of come to me. I'll feel the wind. I'll hear the water, hear the different things, and in those kind of moments, I've done enough meditative practice and stuff that affirmations come to my mind. I'll start saying, "You present, you grounded, you're safe. You love, you protected." And I honestly, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how long I got, depending on what I'm down there for, I just go into these areas of, like I just said, that mental awareness. I'm being conscious and being intentional about the thoughts that I'm putting in my head. I'm being
Mm-hmm.
conscious and intentional about the things I'm saying about myself and to myself. And then in the moments, I talk to y'all too. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really pray. I haven't gotten on my hands and knees and prayed in a while. Sometimes I do because sometimes I'm emotional. You know what I'm saying? I was raised in church, so sometimes when I'm in a good mood and the right Leandra song playing, you know, I put my nose on the ground. But most of the time, my prayers be a conversation. Same way I'm talking to you, literally with the accent. Sometimes with the cussing, and I know that sounds crazy, but authentic conversation is what I have now. It doesn't have to be in it doesn't have to be in a specific order. I don't have to be feeling a specific way. If I'm angry, I'll have that combo. I'll go out there and get that piece, and then somewhere in that piece it comes about. So I feel like all of those things, they happen for me simultaneously. The nature, the spirituality, because most of the times I have those conversations, I'm in nature. I end up being in nature. The meditation goes with all of that. Even if I'm not outside, even if I'm not walking barefoot and getting grounding, you know, I'll sit and do like a 10-minute meditation. I'm plant-based, and right now I'm getting my nutritional certification license, finishing that up. So I know now that a lot of the food that I eat honestly helps keep me grounded because, you know, I don't really have a lot of processed foods or oils or things that don't have as much nutrients. I'm really just feeding my body the stuff that's going to keep it moving in the right direction. So just the combination of all that, because ain't nothing else. I mean, my family, I got a very strong family system. They're very supportive. I mean, I want to say I got a typical, but I got a typical supportive family. Like I got a typical family that's going, the
That
family
ain't as
matters.
typical as you think it is.
I know, and I don't want to, I have a family that I honestly and truthfully can say, if I call them right now or at any point in time and I sound serious enough, I like something is going on. I need you to come to me right now. I don't have to say I'm dying. If I call them and I say serious enough, something is happening. I need you to come here right now. I can honestly say that my brother, my sister, my mama, like my homies that I've been growing up with, like 3 of them from high school that I'm down here with right now, they would stop everything, job, driving. I don't care if they skydiving. They would redirect that parachute. You understand what I'm saying? To help me out. So I have a strong, very strong family system, very strong social system. But I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person when I go through struggles, a lot of it's internal. So even though I have a
Absolutely.
strong structure, a lot of those burdens I carry internally, and I let them out through the nature, through the meditation, through the eating good, through the water with the ginger in it. You know?
Yeah. I've kind of gone recently into studying more into mindfulness and being, like you said, intentional about staying in the present moment. Um, I read somewhere it was like if you're in the past, you're depressed, and if you're in the future, you're anxious. So I'm
Yeah,
really trying hard to stay here and make sure that I'm able to enjoy and feel and do and just relax sometimes in the present. It's okay. Whatever is
yeah,
going on, it's going to happen and then it's going to be a memory. And when that
yeah,
memory is gone, you let that memory just be what it is, no longer
yeah.
existent. So I
And
feel
that's it.
that before I ask you this last question,
Mhm.
um what is it that has been the main thing that made you feel like there was more for you to do?
What is it?
Yeah.
I ain't made it yet.
No, not what is the thing, but what makes so for me, I know there is something more for me to do because I'm never content with anything that I do. So
Ah,
so what is it that's making you know that there's something more for Vince Jr. to do?
I'm always doing it, like you just said. So I told you about 2 months ago or a month ago, I started noticing myself pausing stuff to talk. I do that in every situation. I watch TV shows. If it's a good enough scene, if the actors are connected enough, I'll pause that scene and I'll re-say the line by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'll end up being down the road with this or down the road with that. But I believe that I'm consistently. Uh, my gifts come out. I can sing a little bit. I'm always singing, and my singing usually comes depending on the mood. And I notice that when I'm in a mood that I'm confident, I'm feeling good about myself, just finished the workout, just finished the affirmation. The first thing that I'm doing is singing. You know what I'm saying? So I know I got some singing to do for some people. I love talking to people. Every time I talk to people more recently, people are always just like, I wish we could have recorded this conversation. I feel like we're saying some good stuff. I feel like we dropping some good knowledge to each other. And I'll say, okay, that means that there's good conversations that need to be had. Honestly, I started journaling, and I go back and read the journaling, and I'm reading the journaling like, you need to write this. You need to publish this out here. You know what I'm saying? So every instance that I turn around, I see myself doing the things without the intention of releasing it to people. But honestly, I feel like that's just because of the lack of the confidence. That's because of the self-validation. That's because of the relationship that I'm currently building up now. But now that I'm building it, as you can see, like I just said, you're ready to start my podcast very soon, very, very shortly. I've been putting together those notes, those journal entries, all of them. I've been trying to read them and categorize them in like certain areas because I honestly, I got a book idea just from reading journals, and how I was feeling in the moments. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I always get hit with an idea, and I always be like, dang, I want to do that, or dang, I should do this, dang, I should create this. And usually that second thought is, why don't you? And so if I don't have the resources now, but I'm having the thought, why don't you? It's because I'm gonna have the resources at some point, and I'll do it. So that's what keeps me going. Like, you still having these ideas. It ain't just to have ideas. You're not just here to exist.
Exactly.
It's for a reason. If you haven't seen it through yet, keep living. Keep living. It's gonna come back. No coincidences. Nothing new.
I love it.
No.
So there's one. I got another question for you before we get to the last question. You talked about going plant-based after finding out your dad was had cancer. Did that make you doubt going plant-based?
Yes, and that's what I was saying. To doubt it, I went through that period of just doubting everything because it was just like the whole basis of me going plant-based was I found out my dad. Well, my dad, I was in school last year of college. Dad said he had, you know what I'm saying, he got diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Super kind of scared because my dad ain't never really had no health issues for real. Started researching on Instagram, came across Dr. Sebi's page, and literally two hours later, May 8th, 2016, I called my best friend. I told her, I was like, I think I'm gonna go vegan. I think I'm gonna go vegan, and I never looked back from there. It's been a positive journey. It's one that I really don't plan on leaving. I might fluctuate between diets, but it just makes sense to me. But it's opened up so much of who I am and who my brand is, literally just going plant-based. I'm such an advocate for health now and the holistic health. So not just physical health, what you're eating, but that mental and that spiritual stay hand in hand. And so I started meditating at the same time I went plant-based. So literally my whole mantra of life from 2016 up until 2020 changed because my daddy died. He didn't die from the cancer, but the cancer is what brought his transition on. And it's just like, even though it's not related to my plant-basedness, because I started it after I watched it save my daddy's life, it made me just say, well, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? It's gonna take about anyway. If that was me, what would be the point of me being, started questioning all of that. But that's the cancer, my father's cancer is what led me to plant-based. That wasn't the sole reason I was plant-based. And that's why I'm still plant-based now. Because it's about more than trying to fight cancer. It's about mindset, It's about mindset. I like my mind. I like my plant-based mindset. It's disciplined and it's able to see why I would want certain foods, but it's also able to decide that desire isn't bigger than the benefit of not eating it.
Baby, I was plant-based for 3 days and I said, I can't do this here. I was like, Lord, have mercy.
Listen, you got to do it. You got to do it the right way, baby steps. I'm finishing up my nutritional coaching license with the National Association of Sports Medicine because I want to figure out how to reintroduce that to our community. I think that's a big thing we should get on. This COVID thing has been crazy. It's ravaging everybody, and everybody is frantic, and we're going back and forth about should we get the vaccine? Is it FDA approved? Should I just pray on it? You know what I'm saying? You hear all kinds of things. Nobody's talking about the old school way of having a strong enough immune system to give your body the best fight just in case you're gonna get it.
Right.
Whether people believe in COVID, whether you're anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theorists or not, people are catching this, and this thing is attacking people's bodies. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's winning. This newer variant is hitting people our age, and COVID ain't one thing that's going to destroy everybody, but it's proof that we need to do better with what we're eating and how we're eating. We need to do better with being intentional about putting stuff in our bodies. And that doesn't mean going cold turkey vegan tomorrow. That doesn't mean becoming raw Sebi, Dr. Sebi in 2 weeks. And I think that people, when they hear like you should eat healthier, you should take bigger options, they immediately shy away from it because that's what they think. They think I'm gonna have to change everything overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how it is. I think I went through my journey, and I think what's gonna help me and what a product I'm trying to figure out how to establish is a way to get people to finesse their diet. You know what I'm saying? You have to finesse your diet because your diet, what you want to eat, what you like to eat, it's all mindset. You've associated certain things with certain emotions, certain cultural things. So we eat fried chicken or soul food on Sundays with church. You associate all the food that you eat with all of those things. And over these last 5 years, I've learned to only associate food with what it's doing to my body. And my taste buds act accordingly. Like half the stuff I eat now, I couldn't stand when I was young. I didn't like the consistency. I didn't like this or like that. But now it tastes good to me because I know what it's doing. Oh my gosh. For real, I know that sounds weird, but
No,
there's
it makes
sometimes
sense.
I be eating that quinoa. I be like, dang, this is supposed to be nasty, but it's delicious to me because it's complex carbs and protein. I'm a muscle dude. I'm always about trying to get the right gains. But if everybody can get a little bit of that mindset, where it's like, I like to eat this because it's good for me. I like to eat bananas because it's good, simple sugar. I like to eat blueberries because it improve my memory. I like to eat a little carrot because the carotene help my eyes. I like to eat, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're doing, if you can start with little baby steps and sneak that banana into your diet, you sneak that, not salad, because I hate salad, and salad is just poor nutrition. Don't think that vegan is salad. That is not what vegan is. But if I sneak this quinoa and I mix it in with my regular white rice, if I throw 3 more broccoli florets on my plate, I don't know if you say floret or floret, I don't know how to say that word.
We know what you're
You know,
talking
if I do just a little bit more, if I do that, then what happens is 3 months from now, without you realizing it, your whole plate is transition, your taste buds is transition, your mindset is transition, so you don't actually notice any diet change. You don't feel like nothing has changed because all of your stuff changed together. So it's like if I can figure out how to get people there, I know that that's one of my brand things as I continue to grow my platform, that health, that wellness. You ain't got to be vegan, but you got to be, conscious. You got to be thinking,
I told you I'm ready for you to finish it so I can go and hire you as my nutrition coach. Come on now.
Listen, it's ironic, but we talking about a week and a half. I got 2 more chapters I got to finish. 2 more
Don't worry
chapters.
about it. I'll be in your DM. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I'm gonna beat you to it. Yeah, I'm telling you. So basically I'm about to really just shift my whole page. I'm probably gonna make another page at some point that's personal, but I'm about to start shift my whole page towards more so branding. I've already done it a little bit. People that I heard me, my Instagram is at Vince_Jr. When you go to my Instagram, you hear me saying this now, so you ain't gonna judge me. You gonna see me with my shirt off a lot on right recently, and it's not a bad thing. I've been getting more into physical fitness. I literally just got my personal training certification, and it's social media. People stop to study, and they stop when they see something they think about. I hate to say it, but skin sells.
So you trying to thirst trap people out here is what you telling me?
You laughing, but I literally got this series idea where I post a minute clip of me talking about one nutritious food, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna try because I don't want to do too much. You feel what I'm saying? I'm still a Florida dude, but I feel like you can sell so much by throwing that trap in there, because when I first started working out and I would post videos of me working out, so I post them on my story, like Grand Rising, glad God woke me up this morning. Y'all be positive, tell somebody you love them today. And I'll probably get 300 people that see that. 300 people see that, right? I posted a thing of me doing push-ups and then standing in front of the camera afterwards. 1,000, 1,100 people seeing this. Now the things will be right next to each other. You know what I'm saying? And so what that shows me is, not unfortunately, but the reality is people are paying attention there. Okay, when you have their attention, put what they need to learn or what they need to ingest in front of it. It's almost like wrapping up a candy or wrapping up a medicine pill and something good. That's how you got to feed people nowadays. I honestly, a lot of people not really going to pages to see the health stuff. They're not going to what's name. But if you could see something, be like, oh, but then actually listen and be like, all right, I
I
don't
mean,
really care how you got there.
I ain't gonna
Go
lie.
ahead.
I went with the guide and y'all, and I was like, okay, I see you, Vince. But then I was looking when you was with your shirt off. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah, you gave a little, you did a little,
You know, a little second look. You're like, wait a
you
minute,
did a
little
little, you did
Vince.
a, man. But that's the point. That's the point. It's like people don't even realize. I got a homegirl been following me for a year and a half. She said the same thing. She was like, it's crazy. I started following you because my homegirl sent me this video of you working out, this and that. And she was like, and basically that was a year and a half ago. In that span of time, now when I post stuff, like when I post about my father and all that,
Mm-hmm.
she's one of those people that we have good conversations based on what I post because she understands where I'm coming from. And so she was basically saying, I don't know at what point it transitioned for me, but I stopped looking for you for that and started looking. And I was just sitting there like, that's the trap, baby. That's the trap. That's the
That's a
whole point.
trap, baby.
You thought I was doing this. You thought I was doing this to feel good. No, I'm doing this to get into your brain, get into
Yeah,
your brain. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life in every aspect. The acting, the entertainment. I feel like I have a charismatic personality. I feel like I'm goofy. I feel like people are attracted to that. I'm seeing now that the only reason they're attracted to that is the same thing that I do with the thirst trap because they're drawn to it. They don't know why, but now that they hear, what you gonna give them? Love,
that's true.
love. You know what I'm saying? My daddy, when he passed, one of my homeboys I grew up with, he said, the craziest part about your daddy was he used to be out there with us when we'd be balling. He'll come out there and talk to us, and y'all used to hate it because we used to hate like, nigga, don't come out here talking to, because we used to feel like he'd come out here and preach to these niggas. Like, don't come out here and preach. We just
Mm-hmm.
got that far. You know what I'm saying? Don't come out here preaching to these niggas. And we had never actually talked to our homies about it. But my homie, when he died, he was just like, it's crazy. Your pops used to come out there and rap with us. And it was love because he would give us these God principles and we never knew it. Like he then never came out to them. It never felt like he was coming out and preaching or coming out and being like, you should do this and you shouldn't do that and you should what's name. They felt like it was just him coming and talking. And years later, they were able to recognize, dang, those same things he was saying, that's what this
Mm-hmm.
whole thing is. And I do believe that there is a certain thing of legacy. It's real. You know what I'm saying? I spent a long time thinking that part of my legacy was that I had to be a preacher or that I was supposed to be a preacher, that I was supposed to get on a pulpit and what's the name? And it makes sense. I can talk a lot. My dad's a preacher. You know what I'm saying? I have this, I was raised in the church. If I wanted to, I could give you a real good preacher who, you know what I'm saying? But all that is performative.
Mm-hmm.
When I actually told God, if you want me to preach, I'll preach, he said, who said you was ever supposed to do that? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I see now that the footsteps that I follow with my father is just that love. You know what I'm saying? I think that, like I said, we put God in a church and we limit him to his rules. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't obey what he say do, but I'm saying he more concerned about y'all one-on-one relationship than he is about what your actions are. Our actions were never gonna add up. We were never gonna be good enough. We're not gonna be perfect. You know what I'm saying? And if you could just be who you are, try to build that relationship, then the stuff that's supposed to come out of you to help people is gonna help. And I think that's what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Life sermon type stuff. If my father gave that kind of procession, I want to hear them kind of words from me. Like, dang, I like listening to Vince. I like listening to his podcast. I like listening to this and that. But I didn't even realize I got encouragement. You know what I'm saying? Something he said came back to me when I was going through a struggle. Then I've done my job. If I get those
Absolutely.
responses, I've done my job.
What's crazy is,
I more people are watching you than you believe, and I've learned that for myself too. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know you would. when I was trying to kind of give you the format of what was going on, I didn't know you was listening to the podcast. It never dawned on me that you had checked the podcast out. I'm in the beginning trying to run down everything. You was like, chill.
Yeah, I know. Right,
But
right.
to kind of segue into this last question, I've seen Vince from a little boy. I've seen
Gee,
Vince in high school. I've seen Vince when
gee,
he first went to fam. I've seen Vince when
gee.
he graduated from fam. You know what I'm saying? I've
Oh
seen
yeah,
all of these different areas or these different sides of or I don't want to say size. I say I've seen these evolutions of Vince Jr. And
oh
I've seen you come from this young boy to this young confused I don't want to say man yet, this man child, and now you're in your grown man status now. Like
yeah,
at one point you could see you going and hanging out with your friends and chilling. Now that's
yeah.
not what you post no more. So what is next for
Wow.
Vince Jr.?
Wow. One, thank you. I didn't even realize that. That's another evaluation I didn't realize. But what's moving next for me is the physical manifestation of everything spiritual, mental, I say has been happening. Because I've been on this path and I've been on this journey of just building that relationship. A major part of that was building that self-validation and that confidence in who I was back up. Um, and now that I feel like I'm on that path, is continuing to create, is continue to open up those avenues. So what's up for me specifically, definitely in detail, is my podcast that's coming up. Is can I talk about a little bit, Ashley? Just
Oh,
want to talk about
please do.
a little
Please do.
plug. Of course, of course. So I have a podcast I'm getting ready to launch. It's called Half and Half Podcast. And it's basically, it's not too different than this. It's just a little bit more distinct in its format. It's based on the premise that duality exists everywhere. Uh, I find when I listen to podcasts, I'm either listening to legitimate, serious ones like this with good dialogue, and I'm hearing people with these transparent, open space stories, or I'm listening to like morning radio show style podcasts where we all laughing and it's a bunch of, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of ignorance. And I went back and forth between which one I was going to do, and I was like, I don't know, because I'm both. Because I literally would laugh and then be serious. But my journey, that was the realization. Everybody is duality exists. Duality is literally the base of left, right, up, down, yin, yang, push, pull. Every religion, every culture understands duality. Half and half is about that duality. So we'll spend one half of the show, typical morning radio show vibes, get you good, 7 news gossip. We'll have a funny little topic that we can discuss, something that we can give the audience something to interact with. But the second half of the show, I want it to be a legitimate space for enlightenment, a space for education, a space for development. We don't have enough spaces, or we're not going to these spaces enough, or maybe we are. There's been a change, but we need to continue to go to these spaces where we learn different things like financial literacy, like real estate, or we learn different things like therapy and mental health, where we tackle discussions that affect our community, like nutrition, because nutrition is a big one. Telling Black people I don't eat meat is crazy. Sexuality. I'm very disappointed that I didn't get motivated to do this podcast earlier, because that the baby controversy was such a great, it was a great, it was a great opportunity to discuss intersectionality and to discuss, you know, reality versus what we're being fed, you know, that kind of thing. But those spaces are hard. Black people don't like to talk about it. And more than Black people, just our generation or generations before consider things taboo and didn't want to open up about it. And I want to create a space for us to do that. So that's what you get from having that podcast. You get on, you listen, you laugh. Oh, they foolish, they crazy. And before you know it, you crying like, dang, that's me too. And that's what I want to do, because if everybody can walk away with a little laugh and a little love, we'll be good. Have and have. So that's definitely coming up. Honestly, if you're following my Instagram with me, to go to my social media within the next 2 weeks, you should see more on that as far as the actual Instagram page. I'm trying to figure out the trademarking right now, how I'm gonna spell half and half, because I want it to be the same for all of my social media handles. But once I get that figured out, all of that'll be out. It's currently right now me and a friend of mine named Jazz Merchant. She's a really intelligent young lady. She's also from FAMU. She's hilarious. Every time we have a conversation, we bust out laughing. But anytime I go into my little geek rant in the conversation, she's always able to go there with me. So I think we have a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good perspectives to bring up. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back on the air. I'm excited to do this. Excited to talk again, laugh again, have banter, have real conversations. I'm tired of talking to myself. My car is tired of hearing me talk to me.
He said, I'm tired
So,
of talking
it's
to
about time to
Myself.
get back. Yeah, yeah. But that's definitely what's happening most officially, I guess. Most officially. The other things, I'm in the process. I got a little business venture I'm doing right now, but that's more so just get into the multiple streams of income. Everybody look up multiple streams of income because we've been missing out on that for a
That's
very
right.
long time in our community. Um, and then continue to perfect my craft. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a acting gig yet that I can tell you about or anything like that, but that's the beauty of it. You get to watch it unfold before your eyes. You know what I'm saying? So just follow your boy, pray for your boy, and just keep loving. You'll see.
I love it. So,
With that being said, I think that's a perfect way to close it out because we're gonna keep watching you. I'm a,
Oh yeah,
as always, we do appreciate you for listening to the podcast. I'm gonna give Vince Jr. one more time to tell us where we can follow him.
of course. Kings and Queens, follow me. Follow me on Facebook at Vincent Montgomery Jr. Now follow me on Instagram at Vince_Jr. BINC as in cat, E as in everything _Junior JUNIOR. Make sure y'all follow me. I do follow back. I do respond. I do like to have conversations. Clearly, I'm getting ready to start a podcast, so feel free to come and drop your opinion on my page. It's always love it. Like Ashley again. Yeah, your podcast is amazing. I love what you're doing as far as having these transparent spaces. And I mean, yeah, it's ironic, actually. You've always been this person. You've always been someone that person. You definitely remember when I was a confused high school teenager. I was definitely trying to be thugging. It's like, man, you know me. Like, how you trying to thug and get on the piano and play order my style?
yeah.
It don't work like that.
I'll let you live your little
Thug life in high school though. I ain't bust you out.
And I was gonna say it's so much grace though for you know what I'm saying? Still allow that to happen and still be on the sideline like, oh, that's too far. That's what's name. I appreciate that. It's always family love with you. And I'm excited that you got this new season. I already know it's blessings. I'm excited to listen to it. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
I appreciate you for joining.
You were one of the first people that I wanted to reach out to with regards to relaunching the podcast. Because, like I say, I have seen you journey from these really tough places in your life, not just losing your dad, Elder Montgomery. I've seen you come through a lot of stuff, and I wanted you to bring that to the audience and let them know that like, there's another side to all of this pain or trauma that we experience. So I do appreciate you for coming on. You can find us every Wednesday morning. This particular episode, I'm gonna make sure we post this bad boy all up and through the social media. So you can find us every Wednesday morning on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Introverse Podcast and on Twitter at Introverse Pod. If you don't have access to the previously mentioned podcast platforms, there's a link in the bio that'll take you directly to the latest episode. Tell a friend to tell a mama them to tell their sister cousins and aunties that we dropping real stuff. This man talked about dualities, and we don't talk about that as black people. And we are literally walking duality. So, so y'all, we really bringing some good stuff to you. If there's nothing else that I hope we've done today is I hope we've inspired you to keep pushing, keep moving, keep going. There's always something on the other side. And with that being said, good night, good day, goodbye.